Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. And thanks to you, we're getting there. So do me a favor, make sure to subscribe, watch, comment. I want those comments, and share with a friend, because I'll say it every single episode. The insanity, the nonsense, it's not stopping. Think about this. Yesterday, literally less than 24 hours ago, Putin and Trump spoke on the phone, that long-awaited telephone call about this potential ceasefire. Yeah, you know, the one between Russia and Ukraine that would be done within 24 hours of Trump's success in the 2024 election. Well, Putin did not agree with a 30-day ceasefire. He did not, something that Trump was trying to promote. He did, however, agree to a ceasefire, get a load of this one, on energy infrastructure strikes. Yeah, let me say that again, on energy infrastructure strikes. For 30 days, they won't blow up power grids. They won't blow up a nuclear reactor plant. Thanks. Meanwhile, while this may seem like a win of some sort, be it big or small, little was actually gained from that call. Now, of course, Trump gets off the call and they try to spin it to the American people to seem like it was a major, major win. Let me show you what he wrote on his Truth Social post. In it, he turns around and he says, "My phone conversation today with President Putin of Russia was a very good and productive one. We agreed to an immediate ceasefire on all energy and infrastructure, with an understanding that we will be working quickly to have a complete ceasefire and ultimately an end to this very horrible war between Russia and Ukraine. This war would have never started if I were president! Exclamation mark. Many elements of a contract for peace were discussed, including the fact that thousands of soldiers are being killed, and both President Putin and President Zelensky would like to see it end. That process is now in full force and effect, and we will, hopefully, for the sake of humanity, get the job done." Let me be clear about something. That's not accurate, because at the same point in time, Putin was telling the Russian people that he's conceding to nothing. In fact, they had Trump waiting on the call for Putin to pick up. And when somebody reminded Putin, hey, you know, you have the president of the United States on the phone, they turned around and they laughed. And he said, yeah, make them wait. Imagine that. Russia doing that to the president of the United States. I don't care if you love Trump or you hate him. He's the president of the United States. The hell is Putin to do that to Trump or to any president of the United States? Meanwhile, yesterday, again, Trump was interviewed by Laura Ingraham. And here is what he said when they discussed the deal. Play the clip.
Mr. President, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We got a readout of your call with Vladimir Putin, and it was a fairly optimistic take. Vladimir Putin agreed to a ceasefire immediately on energy and infrastructure,
right,
but not to a 30-day ceasefire. Tell us what happened.
Well, you have a situation where you have a lot of guns pointing at each other foolishly, because it would have never happened if I were president. That was not a war that was supposed to happen. And it did happen. So that's where we are. And right now, you have a lot of guns pointing at each other. And a ceasefire without going a little bit further would have been tough. Russia has the advantage, as you know. They have encircled about 2,500 soldiers. They're nicely encircled, and that's not good. And we want to get it over with. Look, we're doing this.
Unbelievable. She also goes on to ask him if Ukrainian aid was part of the deal. We're going to get into that after. But in the meantime, play the clip.
Non-negotiables mentioned by Putin. It was reported that I think the Kremlin media actually stated that he demanded an immediate cessation of aid to Ukraine in order to get to this multi-step deal.
No, he didn't. We didn't talk about aid. Actually, we didn't talk about aid at all. We talked about a lot of things, but aid was never discussed.
Actually, in the report, in the transcription of the call, the reporting has said that Putin said to Trump, who I suspect was on the phone, that they would agree to a full ceasefire only only if foreign military aid and intelligence shared with Ukraine stopped. Imagine that. Think about that for a second. They'll agree to a full ceasefire if and when foreign military aid and intelligence sharing with Ukraine stops. Envoy to Middle East, Steve Witkoff, weighed in on that ceasefire call. Here's what he had to say about it. Play the clip.
So I think there have been some breakthroughs. I would commend President Putin for all he did today on that call to move his country close to a final peace deal. And I would say, and I would give all the credit to President Trump, his election, peace through strength, the perception that there are no alternatives, that a good peace, a lasting peace, a durable peace is important for both sides. And the president was, I can't understate, or I can't overstate how compelling he was on this call. He's a natural born leader, Sean, and he demonstrated that today.
I've seen him in action. I know him pretty well, Steve, like you. I've known him 30 years, and there's no other human being like him. I will say that.
I would say that too. There is no other human being that I know that's like it. Let me be very clear about something. I can assure you, if you read the transcript for yourself, you will not turn around and say what Steve Witkoff, who has to say what he's saying, otherwise he gets shit-canned tomorrow. All right, let me be very clear about something. A full ceasefire, if and only if all military aid with Ukraine stops, that's not a negotiation tactic. That's a fucking surrender. Because on day 31, Putin will roll his shit right into Ukraine. And what are they going to do? Fight him with what? Rakes and dirty shovels? Let's get real. Meanwhile, last night on CNN, Neera Tanden made the point that the United States is starting to look really weak against Putin and Russia. Imagine that. United States. Our GDP is like, what, 20 times theirs? Our military strength, 50 times there? We're looking weak against Putin and Russia? Play the clip.
In fact, Putin is just basically, even though we're forcing the Ukrainians to the table, Putin's actually not even sort of accepting a ceasefire right now. So, I mean, I think what is fascinating about all of this discussion is behind all the bluster, we are demonstrating, this administration is demonstrating incredible weakness against the Russians, who are 1/14 of our economy. We are a much stronger country. And Donald Trump waited for an hour today for Putin for this call. He came late after meeting with a bunch of oligarchs. He laughed about holding the president up. That's not a demonstration of American strength. That is incredible weakness that he's tolerating this behavior by Russia.
Did Trump get played?
By the way, I'm with her 100%. Again, I'm going to repeat myself here. Whether you like Trump or not, the fact that Putin kept him waiting, even for a minute, forgetting about whether it was 20 minutes or an hour, as she said. Imagine keeping the president of the United States on hold because you're busy talking to oligarchs, or for any purpose there. Makes no sense to me. Meanwhile, Josh Rogan, who's the lead global security analyst for the Washington Post intelligence, he unpacked the entire deal from his perspective. Play that clip.
One way to look at it, I have a little bit of a different view. I think that President Trump is honestly trying to pursue the path to peace. I just think he's bungling it by taking Putin's side and pushing Putin's talking points and agenda items and punishing the Ukrainians. And I think that's just a bad negotiating strategy. Now, what happened today was that Putin said, okay, well, if you want a ceasefire, I'll do one where I can still attack all the civilians of Ukraine. And the Ukrainians can't attack the thing that they're attacking, which is the oil depots. So it's really a ceasefire for the Ukrainians and not the Russians, which doesn't really make any sense when you think about it for 2 seconds. But this is what amounts for a win right now in the slow and steady progress. So I'm rooting for President Trump to get to a negotiation. I hope that both sides can reach a just peace. But right now, they're bungling it. And we just have to be honest with about that, because if you have a peace based on the fact that the Russians can do whatever they want, the Ukrainians can't do whatever they want, and then you have a peace that doesn't include the Ukrainians having independence, having security, getting 20,000 stolen children back, and having some assurance that they won't get attacked again in a year's time, well, then it's not going to work, and the Ukrainians are not going to accept it. So that's a little bit different than everything's horrible. I don't think everything's horrible about what Trump's doing. I just think that if he did it smarter, he would have a better chance of achieving his own goal. And the way he's doing it by taking Putin's side against Ukraine is actually undermining his own goal for peace, which is going to make peace a lot harder. And he's finding that out the hard way, including by what Putin did today.
Who can't agree with that? Do not we all want peace? Even if Trump gets the credit for it? Of course, I would be the first one to come onto this program and tell you, way to go, Trump. All right, good. This is what you said you were going to do. This is what you did. Good. It's good for America. It's good for the world. It's good for Ukraine. It's good for Russia. It's good for everybody. But he's undermining his own strength and the potential of a ceasefire based upon siding with Putin. He also goes on to say that it has become clear that Putin doesn't even want peace. Play that clip.
You cover this every day.
Sure.
Did what happened today get things anywhere closer to peace? A peace that Ukraine would have...
No, it didn't get closer to peace, but it got closer to clarity, John, which is really the more important thing. Because what it showed us is that, well, what a lot of people already assume, which is that Putin doesn't want peace, okay? There's no signs that he wants peace. He agreed to the energy ceasefire, and then hours later bombed an entire city, causing a blackout in an entire city. So he, grand opening, grand closing, the whole ceasefire that Trump just secured as his 10-yard play or whatever, fumble, turnover, it didn't work, okay? It only took 3 hours. So this whole process, and this is what people don't really talk about on TV, but we should just be honest about it, is about making sure that when this whole thing fails, because they're going to keep fighting, that Trump believes it's Putin who's to blame and not Zelensky. And that was...
Yes, it is Putin who has to blame, because he's right. Within 3 hours, they blew up a power grid. Meanwhile, the last clip that I want to show you is of Josh. This kid's great, by the way, explaining how he believes that this current administration, that Trump and this administration believe Putin more. As Trump had said once before, he believes Putin more than he does our own intelligence agencies. Play the clip.
And that's how, regretfully and crazily, this foreign relations are done these days. It's by convincing Trump that you're not the one that's causing the problem. And that's the battle that's going on. So I don't think Putin wants to stop fighting. I think he's going to figure out a way to try to pin it on Zelensky, and Zelensky's going to try to figure out a way to pin it on Putin. The problem that we're all dealing with is that the people in the Trump administration, including Trump, Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, Don Jr., Tucker Carlson, and the rest of them, believe Putin and don't believe the U.S. intelligence community and don't believe, the Ukrainians and don't believe the reality. And that's an unsolvable problem, because how do you have a diplomatic negotiation where the mass murdering dictator who abducted 20,000 children has more credibility with the U.S. president than the victim, the president of the country that got attacked? That's just crazy. And I don't really, I've never figured out how to wrap my mind around solving that conundrum.
I think the other part.
This guy's got some way with words, right? Talk about getting slapped in the face with reality of what's really going on here. It's why, again, I'm going to say it. Subscribe, watch, comment. I want your comments, and share with friends so that everybody remains in the know. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. We're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.